Yes, dear students, it is time for our very last chapter of life, and last chapter of our class, retirement planning and estate planning. Planning for our golden years and our ultimate demise. By 2030, 76 million baby boomers will have retired, but only 46 million Gen Xers will have come up to replace them. Are we looking at a labor shortage? And this is an oft heard lament of senior citizens. If I knew I was going to live this long, I would have done things a whole lot differently. Right, we want you to get started early. I think we've been emphasizing that throughout our discussions of investments. Right, so let's get started. Why think about retirement planning now? Well, yeah, people often go, I got plenty of time, I don't have plenty of time all of a sudden. What? Who did this to me? How could I be this old? People are spending more years, 16 to 20, sound like a test question. How many years are people spending in retirement? 16 to 20 or more. A private pension plan and social security are most often insufficient to cover the cost of what private pension plan? No, those are disappearing. They're being replaced with individual, what are called defined contribution plans, such as 401ks, 403bs, which is what we're going to spend a lot of time on today. Inflation will diminish the purchasing power of your retirement savings. Inflation doesn't end just because you ended your career. It doesn't stop because you retired. Now, over the past 100 years or so, inflation's averaged about 3%. But there are times when all of a sudden, whatever reason, stupid microbe COVID, inflation rears its ugly head, and boy, is that bad for those of us in our retirement years. Estimating retirement living expenses. Well, spending patterns will change. Some expenses may go down or stop. Work, clothing, housing expenses. Hopefully you've paid down the debt, right? Income taxes will often go down because you're making less money, but other expenses will probably go up, such as medical expenses, leisure. You want to do the things that you always wanted to do, gifts and contributions. And some families, it's just expected that grandma and grandpa are going to be paying for quite a bit of the kids' expenses. Inflation will raise the amount you need to cover your expenses over your probable how many years? 15 to 16? I'm sorry, 16 to 20. Or more years in your retirement. You know, folks, for me and our family, the one thing that scares me is healthcare. Because it's the only thing that can really blow up in your face, apart from an economic collapse, and then everybody's in the same situation. It's the only thing that scares yours truly with respect to my wife's and my retirement is healthcare. And so you want to make sure you have good Medicare backup. Some people call it Medigap, some people call it the Advantage System, and that's a whole other discussion about Medicare in your golden years. Here is the average older 65 plus person household spends its money. Notice that they still have over 30% in housing. Now, if you've purchased a home and paid down the debt, this should go down. But notice that transportation is still a pretty big chunk. And again, do you really need 2 cars in retirement? Do you need any cars in retirement? Are you going to drive that often? Could you use a system such as Uber? And I'm expecting, Uber many years ago thought they were going to already by now have gotten rid of the drivers so that they could actually make more money. But no, they still need drivers. We're close. I'm sure we're close to driverless cars. We'll see. Healthcare, 12%. I would think that's a little higher. Food, 13%. That's about right. And so this is how the average, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. See, if you rent, then this is probably going to stay up at over 30%, or in San Diego, more than 30%. Planning your retirement housing. Consider the cost of living and taxes. You see, Most people prefer to stay in their house. About 6 out of 7 people remain in their homes. Even though the retirement communities are bursting at the seams, it's just because there's a whole lot more older people now. The statistic is still 6 out of 7 want to live in their home. And a reverse mortgage can help supplement income, but be very careful. There are sharks in the water. Whenever you see celebrities hawking financial products, you know they're dangerous. You just know it because the celebrity is just there because they're a celebrity. The continuing care retirement communities provide increasing levels of care. So we've seen people who have gone into these things and they really didn't want to go at first, but once they got there, they thought, oh, this is so much easier. I have my meals prepared for me, or someone does my laundry or whatever. And then, of course, all the way up to and including skilled nursing. Some people will decide to leave San Diego. Oh boy, folks, be careful. If you own a home here and then sell it, go somewhere else, it's going to be really difficult to come back. Oh boy. So my recommendation would be to rent for a year or two. See how you like the new place. And then, then you could sell the house if you have a house in San Diego. And then say, yeah, this is my new place. I love it. My brother-in-law lives in Arizona, and a lot of Californians are moving to Arizona. He says, and they're bringing their politics with them. So, yeah, it's we're all Americans, right? Wrong. Yeah, some people don't think that the other side is real true Americans. So yeah, definitely rent for a year or two before you sell the place if you own a place here. More and more Americans are retiring abroad, and this is a great way to reduce your living expenses. I've met several people on my travels in Mexico who say that they're living quite nicely now, and they wouldn't have been able to have that same level of standard of living. But that all depends on the dollar and exactly the exchange rate, which the dollar is pretty strong now. You don't know how it's going to be in the future. It goes up and down like anything, but sure, the cost of living is a lot cheaper in many other places, and in some places it's more expensive. If you move to some places in Europe, they'll sell you. Italy is very famous for this. They'll sell you a house for a dollar. Well, actually, a euro, which is like $1.20. It's going to cost you 10,000-20,000 euros or dollars to get it back up to snuff because it's been abandoned. They don't want to tear it down, and it's not in the most fashionable cities, of course. But hey, that will lower your housing expenses. Costa Rica, by the way, is a very popular place. Mexico too, and Ecuador and other. Many people talk about, especially who have some kind of, either family or I have a friend who married a Filipina woman, but she sadly passed away, and he thought about moving to the Philippines, but instead he left California for Arizona, and he says it's a lot cheaper to live there. If you do go abroad, you still have to pay your federal income taxes. You don't have to pay any more state income taxes, no more California income tax, but you still have to pay federal income taxes unless you're going to renounce your citizenship, and that's a very drastic maneuver. Healthcare is definitely an issue because if you cancel your Medicare and you come back, which is often what people do, during their better years in retirement, they feel great, and then if they get kind of not very good, the health isn't very good, come back, they expect Medicare to take care of them. No, Medicare is going to come back and charge you as if you were in Medicare the whole time since age 65. So do think about that. But I was impressed. I've been always impressed with the healthcare that I've seen throughout Mexico. It's very different. It's not the state of the art, but at the same time, it's actually very, very reasonable for everyone. And what they do and other countries do is they use their pharmacists a whole lot more than we do. It's very sad because our pharmacists are incredibly powerful. Folks, they're almost doctors, really. You go up to UCSD and they got the medical school, and right next they got the pharmacy school, and they put those people through the ringer, and they know their business, and they could be used a lot more in the United States than they are here. But that's that's our system. You go to another country and you see the pharmacist first, and they'll say, here, take this. If you don't feel better tomorrow, go see the doctor. Or they'll say, you know what, go see the doctor right now, right next door. Go see the doctor because you need medical care right now of a doctor. So but we can't do that here in the United States. So well, social insecurity, slide 6. No, social security. My apologies. It's the most widely used source of retirement, covering 97% of U.S. workers. But here's the key. When it was created back in the late 1930s, it was never meant to be the sole source of income in retirement. It was only supposed to be one leg or of a 3-legged stool or a 4-legged stool. And yet, somewhere along the line, people just thought, oh, I got Social Security, I'm set. And then they're in their late 50s and they're looking at early 60s and they go, how much am I getting? That's about 1/4, 1/3 of what I need. Right! That's what we've been trying to tell you. So don't depend on it for all your income. You'll hear people say, oh, Social Security is not going to be around. It's going to go bankrupt. No, it's not going bankrupt, folks. The problem with Social Security is us, me, the baby boom generation. We're this huge bulge in the demographic profile of the country. And so we're going to put a big strain on Social Security. And if nothing changes, which it will, because the politicians will eventually get around to working on it, then it will only be able to pay out about 70-75% of its what it needs to pay out, of its commitments. And so that's not bankruptcy, but it's not good. So we're going to have to deal with it. And we're going to talk about the retirement time bomb in the next presentation. Check the earnings and benefit statements you receive each year. Full retirement benefits at age 65 to age 67. So over the last, 70 some odd years, 80 years since the late 1930s, it's only gone up 2 years from 65 to 67. Confidence in the system is low, as we were discussing. It's not going bankrupt. Medicare is going bankrupt, and that's not because it's a bad system. It's just because our healthcare system is becoming so expensive. So Medicare's got a serious problem. We're going to have to deal with it, and we talked about that back in Chapter 9. So here are the years you were born and when you get full benefits. So anyone born after 1960, it goes up to 67. Before that, anyone born before 1938, it was 65. So you see how it's gone up slowly, the full retirement age. Now you can retire earlier than your full retirement age. Not a good idea because they will, that's what they're going to do, right? They're going to pay you less. And you can wait until age 70 and they will increase the amount. I think it's 8% a year up until age 70. But after that, no, they're not going to. So at age 70, it makes sense for you to take Social Security. Of course, by that time, some of you young folks, who knows, it'll have changed quite a bit because people are just living longer. So we're going to discuss the retirement time bomb in our next presentation. Now, what about defined benefit plans? These are the traditional pension plans. You might hear them called just pension plans, but the legal term is defined benefit. The employer will pay you a certain amount per month when you retire based on your pre-retirement salary, your number of years in service, and your age at retirement. This is what Social Security is. It's a defined benefit plan. You work for a certain number of years, your age and your salary, and they go back and there's a formula. They say, okay, this is how much you get for the rest of your life. And when I first started Southwestern a million years ago, they weren't paying very much, and I took a 20% pay cut, but I didn't care. I figured I was only going to be there for a semester. It was a temporary full-time position. I didn't think I was going to get called back, and then I did. They made the position permanent. I had to reapply. With other people, but I got it. I looked at the retirement system. I thought, this is pretty darn good. Well, it made sense. We were getting paid less than our counterparts in the industry, And so it made sense for public employees. And now, of course, they have pension envy. Many people have pension envy, and they say they're paying us too much money. Well, there's a few individuals who get paid a lot of money, and of course they make it into the news. But most people are not they're not living high on the hog, folks. Literally, they're living. The employer makes the investment decisions for you and their contributions, but your benefit amount stays the same regardless of how the investments perform, unless the fund goes belly up, of course, which there have been high profile, not lately, but back in the 1980s and 90s, some of these companies did not do a very good job of managing their pension plans. And so then there's a government-backed fallback system that they become part of. Social Security is an example of a defined benefit plan, and we are seeing these fewer and fewer defined benefit plans, fewer and fewer traditional pension plans. Now, what's the alternative? What have we been replacing the defined benefit plans with? Defined contribution plans. That's not what people know. They call them 401ks, 403bs, 457s, 401as. They go by various names. And then there are money purchase plans. Percent of your earnings are set aside. Stock bonus plans. You buy stock in the company. Profit sharing plans. The employer's contribution depends on the company's profits. And then the most popular, the salary reduction plans. Ugh. What a bad name, right? So, you go to the IRS and you say, what is it with this 401k, 403b? What? They're not very demonstrative. Well, what are they? They are the sections of the Internal Revenue Code that say, if your employer does this and you do this and everybody does nice, the IRS will bless and kiss it, and you can put money in pre-tax, take it out in retirement. So we go to the IRS and say, can't you come up with a better name? And they say, oh yeah, we call them salary reduction plans. Oh boy, isn't that what I want? I want my salary. No, relax. I wish they'd come up with a better name, like this is a fabulous retirement plan. The employer makes non-taxable contributions pre-tax, the matching. They don't have to, it's optional, but they do. And then the employee's contributions are tax deferred, unless they offer the post-tax, and we'll discuss the difference of these soon enough. And so what's the deal here, folks? In the defined benefit plan, the traditional pension plan, the company was setting aside money for you. Sometimes you contributed and they were managing it. But before, people tended to stay with their company, throughout their career. But now people are moving around quite a bit. So now the retirement plan follows you around. And if you invest consistently, prudently, with an eye toward long-term growth of income and capital, meaning, thing going up in value, and you don't panic when the markets fall, don't get too greedy when the markets go up. The reality is you can have a pretty darn good retirement system, your own very good pension plan. But the other side of the coin is if you don't contribute, or you make really boneheaded maneuvers, you chase after every next big thing, or you panic when the markets fall, the reality is you could be looking at a pretty frugal, sparse a retirement plan, you see? So that's why we want to get you started early, folks. That Roth IRA, 401k, 403b, get started early, invest for long-term growth. I love those growth and income funds, maybe a balance fund. Yeah, you can do it. Some of them let you buy your own individual stocks and bonds. Take Business 123, Introduction to Investments, okay? So, slide number 10 is estimating your retirement living income. The rule of thumb is you need 70, 80%, but everyone's different. Now, many financial websites have these retirement calculators, and here are two that are pretty good retirement calculators. Well, what these things really are marketing devices, right? You answer all the questions, how much money you're putting away, how much you make, how much do you spend a year, what's your mortgage and all this other stuff, and they come back and say you need to save more. Here, talk to one of our representatives. But yeah, they're helpful. And then remember the longevity game, right? How long are you going to live? That's the nobody knows, right? If you knew how long you're going to live, then you could plan accordingly. Social Security will send you an estimated benefits statement upon request. They used to send you one each year, but now you have to ask for it. They're going to ask you to create an account, use their website, and so it's a good thing to see and see okay, yeah, okay, that's not a whole lot. I need to put some money away here because I don't think Social Security is going to be my sole source. Thank you very much. Right. Oh my goodness. I've met some people who are living off of only Social Security in Mexico and doing okay. But if the dollar were to fall dramatically versus the peso, it fell quite a bit in the last few years, but it's come back. It wasn't that a big a jump, but it was a bit of a rude awakening for some people. I feel sorry for the Canadians. Their dollar, their Canadian dollar, has fallen quite a bit versus the United States dollar and the Mexican pesos. And you meet quite a bit of quite a bit of Canadians living in Mexico. And they're everything that people say they own. They're the sweetest people. They're very, very nice. Okay, what's the type of retirement accounts? Well, there's basically they fall into two categories, folks. There's pre-tax and post-tax. And pre-tax, you get a tax break now. And you get to deduct your contributions from income tax, which means you pay fewer dollars in taxes now. The match that they give you, if they give you a match, is tax deferred, which means you don't pay taxes on it until you take the money out in retirement, and then you pay taxes in retirement. Well, that makes a lot of sense, right? We're in our earning years now. We want to have a tax break now. When we're retired, we're in a lower tax bracket, normally. If not, congratulations, because that means you're taking a whole lot of money out of your retirement account. So the 401ks, the 403bs, the 457s, the thrift savings plan for federal employees, which is it's technically not a 401k. It has its own section of the Internal Revenue Code, but it's a 401k, and it's actually very good. It's a very simple plan, and if you worked in the military or the federal government, you know what I'm talking about. We actually use it as an assignment in Business 123, Introduction to Investments, because it's a very good plan that anyone who's has earned income can contribute to a traditional IRA. There's a little bit of confusion that we'll see in a bit, but everyone can contribute to a traditional IRA. If you have a small company or you're self-employed, there are these SEP IRAs, these simple IRAs, these KIOs, which are all basically the same idea, but they're meant for smaller companies or self-employed. They all work the same way. You contribute, maybe your employer contributes on your behalf for you, a match, and then you pay fewer taxes now, and when you go to retire, that's when you pay the taxes when you take the money out. Post-tax contributions are after tax. That means you pay taxes on them now. You don't get a tax break now, but what's the cool thing? In retirement, they're tax-free. Not only the contributions, but any earnings. And that is a golden opportunity, in my humble opinion. Now, we say the Roth IRA is for almost everyone. It actually is for everyone, but there's a little bit of a loophole. I wish they would just make it so that everybody can invest in a Roth IRA, but they won't. And now they have Roth 401ks, 403bs. We put them in quotes because that's not what the IRS calls them. They just call them 401ks with after-tax contributions. You don't get a tax break now, but in retirement, assuming you wait until 59 and a half, and there's a couple of ways you can actually get the money sooner if you retire earlier, but 59 and a half, then it's completely tax-free, which is really, really cool. And this should look familiar, right? Right. We talked about the taxable accounts where you can pretty much invest in anything you want, where there's no limit on contributions, no limit on investment types, and you pay taxes every year on any interest, rent, dividends, capital gains. And then the retirement accounts, the traditional IRAs, the Roth IRAs, the 401ks, 403bs. These have strict limitations on the amount of contributions you can make. can't put $1 million or $100,000 into your Roth IRA in 1 year. There's a limit on how much you can put in every year. Strict limits on investment types because they don't want you doing really stupid things. Even though you can sneak real estate into an IRA, don't do it. You can put, I think, Golden Eagle, United States Golden Eagle coins, don't do it. You have to have a really smart, really, meaning expensive trustee who knows what they're doing. And then what do they do with the gold? They got to hide it somewhere. I don't know. Stay away from it. These work very similarly. You get a tax break now, and then in retirement you pay taxes on the income as it comes out, which makes sense because you're in a typically lower tax bracket. The Roth version, the Roth 401k, the Roth 403b, the Roth IRA, you don't get a tax break now, but you get a tax break later. So these again are supposed to be little buckets or bolses or bins that you put the investments in, and the registration, as we saw way back in chapter 11, is how the IRS knows how to tax you. Okay. Now, slide 13. How are we doing? Okay. It actually, believe it or not, doesn't stand for individual retirement account, even though that's what everyone calls it. It's actually individual retirement arrangement. The only people who call it that are the folks at the IRS. It's the most popular personal retirement plan. It's been around for decades. And now they call it the traditional IRA to not confuse it with the Roth IRA. Anyone with earned income can contribute to a traditional IRA. Contributions are normally tax deductible unless you have a retirement plan at your employment and make over a certain amount. So you can always contribute to the IRA. But if you make over a certain amount and you work at a place that has a 401k, 403b, whatever, then you may not be able to deduct it in that year. In which case you have to keep track of how much was pre-tax and how much was post-tax, and it can be a bit of an accounting pain in the neck. But you can still contribute. The contributions increase with inflation, and currently in 2024, they're $7,000, and if you're 50 or over, you can put an extra $1,000 in. There's going to be some changes. I think that they're going to allow people in there after 60 to put even more in. That's my understanding. I don't know if it's actually happened yet. It's in the Congress now. The investment grows tax deferred, and you pay taxes on the money as you withdraw it once you're retired. Again, this is normally a 59.5, but there's a way you can actually do it earlier. You have to talk to the IRS and say, okay, I'm 58, I'm going to retire now. And what they do is they say, okay, this is how much you can take out for the next 5 years. And by the way, if you do that, you have to take it out. You can't go back to work and say, I don't want to take it out anymore. They say, sorry, you went into this deal, you got to do it for 5 years. Kind of bizarre. Mandatory withdrawals used to begin at age 70.5, but now they've been pushed back to 72 and now 73, and they're probably going to be pushed back to 75. Why? Because people are living longer. And so they're I don't need my money. I'm still working. Leave me alone. And so we'll see what happens with that. Now, the IRA has lots of cousins, the 401k, 403b, 457. Notice the maximums, $23,000 in 2024, $7,500 if you're 50 or over. The SEP IRA is really great for people who are sole proprietors and don't have any employees, because you can put up to 25% of your earnings, I think up to $60,000. So if you're a dentist who just has, you working for yourself, usually a dentist needs some kind of employees. So the problem with the SEP IRA is if you pay yourself a certain percentage, you have to pay your employees a certain percentage too. The simple IRA is my favorite. This is for companies with 100 employees or less, and it's dirt cheap and very easy to manage. The 401ks, 403bs, they're a pain in the neck. You just get nickeled and dimed by the accountants and the third-party administrators who just have to do tons and tons of paperwork to submit to the IRS. The simple, no, it's all gone. No way. It's a piece of cake. But notice the limit is a little less. Still $16,000 a year, and if you're 50 or over, $3,850 in 2024. The simple 401k is for people who have a very small business, usually somebody just working for themselves. Now, the Roth IRA is a cousin of the IRA, but it's very different, right? It's post-tax, and where did they get the name Roth from? From the senator who was pushing this thing. And because he was in his 70s in the Senate still working and having to take money out of his IRA, he was actually not very happy about this. William Roth from Delaware. And so he said, look, with the Roth IRA, no mandatory withdrawals. So if you have a Roth IRA, you don't have to take the money out ever. Well, it doesn't matter. The government doesn't care because that's all tax free. So they don't care when you take it out. The other ones, hey, we want our money back now. Come on, start taking this money out. And so, but notice if you earn too much, there's a loophole to get around it, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But yeah, they didn't want very rich people taking advantage of the Roth IRA. And then the Roth 401k, Roth 403b, we really should have quotes around here because it's basically a 401k or 403b, but they allow you to put in post-tax contributions. So you got it? Pre-tax, or sometimes called before tax, and post-tax or after tax. Two different ways of funding and withdrawing from your accounts. So now here's an example. You have a company that you're working for, and they have a 401k, and you put $100 via your paycheck once a month, whatever. Now they might match it. They might give you $50. They might give you $100. Who's going to give you a 50% or 100% return on your investment in one day? Nobody but your company. So be kind to them, all right? And some of them don't match. We don't match. 403Bs, no, they never match because it's school districts. And so you put in $100. Now, it depends on your marginal tax bracket, that thing we hoped you'd never have to worry about anymore. So let's say you're in the 25% federal tax bracket. Let's say you're in the 8% California bracket. So what's going to happen is the feds and the state of California are going to give you a subsidy. They're going to take $25 fewer dollars out and send it to the feds, take $8 fewer dollars out of your paycheck and not send it. I'm sorry, did I say it? Take $25 and send? No, they're not going to send it to the feds, and they're going to take $8 fewer dollars out of your paycheck and not send it to California. No one's, they're not giving you $33, folks. They're just taking that. They're not taking out the $33. Boy, did I mess that one up, didn't I? They're not taking out the $33 that they normally would have taken. So you see your take-home pay only reduced by $67, even though you put in $100. Not bad, right? But the whole $100 still goes into your account. You see that? That's pretty cool. I like that. Well, what's the catch? There's always a catch. You pay income tax on any amounts withdrawn in retirement. Right. You're going to kiss this money, put it in the 403b, and let it do its thing for 30, 40, 20, 25 years, how many years. And then when it comes back to you, that's when you pay the taxes. And people in retirement are usually in a lower tax bracket. And if not, congratulations. Yeah, I hope all my students, all my clients, myself, have this horrible affliction of paying a lot of taxes in retirement because it means they've made a lot of money. If you need the funds before retirement, well, you're going to have to pay the income tax. Well, that makes sense. You didn't pay going in. And you may wind up paying a 10% penalty. But there are some exceptions: first-time home purchase, higher education, medical disability, financial hardship. It used to be harder to get these approved, but now, especially with COVID, they've gotten a little bit more flexible in taking out your money. You have to pay the taxes. Still, I mean, that's only fair, right? You didn't pay taxes going in, but you don't have to pay. You might not have to pay that 10% penalty. Okay. So that's cool. I think so. And some people are going to badmouth the 401k. There are other vehicles. It's not nothing's perfect, but I think it's pretty darn good, folks, because it allows you to put money away. Hopefully, you get a match from your employer, and make good, prudent choices. Remember, you're the financial guru now for your friends and family and coworkers. And once you take BUS121 Introduction Investments, you're going to be the investment guru for them too, also. So let's take a look now the Roth IRA, or maybe you have a 401k and they let you put in after-tax money, post-tax money. You put in $100. What are the feds going to give you? What's the state of California going to give you? No, nothing. So you don't get any subsidy. Your disposable income is reduced by $100. So no tax break now. So why would you contribute to a Roth IRA? And here's your answer. Because a Roth IRA is so cool. That's what I tell people. Tax-free in retirement is a golden opportunity. No other investment choice comes close. Eventually, they will be gotten rid of. I think they won't. They'll grandfather us in, those of us who have them. But they might say, you know what? These things are too good to be true. Because once that money's in there, it grows tax-free, assuming you take it out at age 59 and a half. And as we said, there's some exceptions. But normally, if you take it out before then, you're going to get hit with the taxes and you're going to get hit with the penalty. Now, you can withdraw the contributions at any time without penalty. Well, that makes sense because you've already paid taxes on the contributions. But any earnings, no. They want you to wait until you're in retirement. This makes the Roth IRA also an excellent intermediate term investment account for a purchase of a house or other high-ticket item. Great for college expenses because when you filled out the FAFSA form, not the FAFSA form, the FAFSA form, they didn't ask how much was in your Roth IRA. They asked how much was in your savings accounts and your parents' savings accounts and all that, but they didn't ask how much was in your 401ks and the Roth IRA. And so I think it's a pretty darn good deal. People now the 529 plans, the educational savings plans, have gotten better. They had some real nasty gotchas. But when people say, well, should I start a savings account for my son or my daughter for college? I say, have you funded your Roth IRA first? And they say, well, no. I say, well, why don't you do that first? Okay, because first of all, you don't know if your son or daughter is going to go to college. They might go in the military or whatever. And then secondly, yeah, you got to, when they get on the airplane, right, they tell you that if the airbag comes down, the oxygen mask comes down, put yours on first, and then put your child's on. So I'm a big fan of the Roth IRA. Yeah, well, okay. Slide 19. But the Roth IRA is not for everyone. Well, actually it is. You just have to learn how to navigate the paperwork. Now see if you can follow me on this. It's okay if you don't because it's really, really confusing. There are limitations on Roth IRA contributions. Only single taxpayers with an adjusted gross income, remember that from Chapter 3, of $146,000 or less in 2024, and married couples with an adjusted gross income of $230,000 or less in 2024 can fully contribute to a Roth IRA. And if you don't qualify, congratulations. I don't feel too badly for you. But here's the crazy part. You can still contribute to the Roth IRA anyway. If you find that you've made over the limit, you can recharacterize. That's the verb that the IRS uses. Recharacterize the contributions into a traditional IRA, which doesn't have the same limitations. There's no limit on how much your income is for a traditional IRA for contributions, before you file your taxes. And then what you do is you convert the traditional IRA back into the Roth. Well, you do all the paperwork in the same day. You fill out the paperwork to recharacterize the contributions into the traditional IRA, and then you do it the same day. You fill out the paperwork to convert the traditional IRA back into the Roth. Now, it usually takes 2 days for the company to do this, but it works. I've used it for people. I've helped people do it, and I've done it myself. You then convert the traditional IRA to a Roth. I know who voted for these bozos. Oh yeah, we did, right? Yeah, okay. It's called the Roth backdoor, by the way. And wouldn't it be nice if they simply just said, let people contribute to the Roth IRA, even if they make a good salary? No, they don't do that. So let's see. Someday the demagogues and the Republicans will talk nice and make nice in the sandbox again, but right now it ain't happening. Slide 20. Tax credit for low-income earners. Now, I don't know about you, but 76,500 for married filing jointly, that's not that low. I mean, that's pretty darn good salary. You could get up to 50% of your contributions back as tax credits. It's a maximum of $2,000. So if you do your own taxes, don't forget this. If you have someone do your taxes for you, make sure to remind them you made contributions to a retirement account. Remember, a tax credit is a dollar for dollar reduction of income taxes. So don't forget this. You put $50 a month away, that's $600 in your Roth IRA. You might get $600, I'm sorry, $300, 50%. You might get $60, that's 10%, $120, that's 20%, or $300, that's 50% of your contributions back as tax credits. Very, very cool. Slide 21. Now, we've already made mention of this. If your employer offers the option, you are able to place after-tax dollars into your 401k or 403b accounts. These are post-tax contributions like the Roth IRA. Although, unlike the Roth IRA, contributions cannot be taken out without penalty or taxes, as can be done with the Roth IRA. You got to leave it in there. This option is popular with workers in lower tax brackets. They don't need the tax break now. In my humble opinion, they're not quite as good as the Roth IRA because you can't take the contributions out. But if your company matches, that's a winner, right? That's free money, right? You put in $50, they put in $50, or you put $100, they put in $100, or maybe $50, 50% return, 100% return. You're not going to get that with a regular Roth IRA, okay? You'll get it maybe with your employer. And some students talk about how they have a 401k that the employer matches and they take advantage of it. I'm so glad. They're my students. And so finally, let's take a look at the anticipated sources of retirement income as told by the Social Security Administration. And this is the takeaway here, folks. This is what I want you to see. 27%, about a quarter, close to a third of your income should be from Social Security. So hopefully this one right here is going to be a whole lot bigger because you're going to, I'm talking about this one, I guess, 401k. This is going to be your pension. The 401k will be your pension. So we want you to start saving now because of your probable 16 to 20 years of living in retirement. Cool? Okay. In our next presentation, we're going to discuss a very serious topic, the baby boom generation retirement time bomb, which is actually going off right now. And it turns out it's not so far been as bad as many people thought it was going to be. See you in our next presentation on the baby boom generation time bomb. And we'll see that we're muddling along so far. Thank you again so much for being in our class.